So a couple months ago, my friends and I were playing some modded Minecraft. We used a mod pack that we built ourselves, and the mod that actually ended up being our favorite was really simple. It made it so that whenever you die, rather than dropping all your items on the ground, they get stored in a tombstone. The tombstone stays there indefinitely until you go and interact with it, at which point you can pick your items back up as if they were stored in a chest. Now recently, I've been getting into coding with Spigot, and this really inspired me. So I decided to take it upon myself to recreate this mod, but in the form of a Spigot plugin. By the way, before I show off my creation, I just want to say that I am by no means the first person to do this in Spigot. After I finished, I ended up going and checking to see if anyone else had the same idea. Turns out tons of people had, so you can't be original all the time. But this is definitely my own personal take on it, and I like to think that in some ways it's pretty unique. So if I go ahead and just go into adventure mode real quick, and let's just say that I was walking around one day, and I had an inventory with some stuff, building blocks, food, a potion, and one day, for whatever reason, I just died. In normal vanilla Minecraft, I often get frustrated with how quick you have to go back and pick up your items, so I decided to fix that. As you can see, there's a little minifigure of me, and I'm kind of seeing him from the back, so I'll go around to the front. Yes, look, there's a little mini version of me right there. I'll stand next to him for comparison. When I go ahead and right click this minifigure, you'll see that it's my headstone. I've got all the items that I dropped in this inventory. As soon as I remove these items and then exit the inventory, the minifigure disappears and gives me some of my XP back. This works for all items in your inventory, including those in your offhand and armor slots. And really what it does is A, it prevents clutter, it prevents there being from a bunch of items on the ground, and B, it makes it so that your items don't have a time limit. You can take as much time as you need to go back and pick them up. One final technical side note that I should just mention if you're actually a server owner is that if the server gets reloaded or turned off, then the items will be forced to drop on the ground because unfortunately Spigot cannot save custom inventories. I know that's a little bit technical, so if you didn't understand it, don't worry about it. So that's all well and good. I accomplished what I was going for, and I thought for a while that that would be the end of it. But then I started to get some other ideas. I was looking at the little minifigures that I had created to be the tombstones, and I was thinking that I was being pretty clever for using just the player's head and a few generic armor pieces. But then I realized, what if I just took it a step further? Long story short, if I just go ahead and put on some diamond armor and keep this netherite sword in my hand and then kill myself, the minifigure that gets generated to be the headstone will actually copy my armor and any items in my hand and my offhand. When I go back into the inventory, I can then remove the armor and the thing in my main hand, just like I would for any other item that had been in my inventory. So at that point, I thought that I had really finished this project. I thought it looked good, I thought it was functional, I thought there wasn't really anything else I could add. So I decided to introduce it to a creative build server that I had with some of my friends from school. And one of my friends pointed out to me that it would be really cool if you were able to generate one of those little minifigures without dying. So what I did was actually I added a command that can only be run by server operators that will do exactly that. If I go ahead and put the armor back on, put the sword in my main hand, maybe also put a shield in my offhand, if I just type /minifig, it will generate a figure that has all of my armor, weapons, and offhand. Unfortunately, it cannot copy the helmet because the head is in place of the helmet. But with this figure, unlike the tombstones, you can actually interact with it. Like you can remove the armor and put it back on. Obviously, that is a duplication technique. That is why I made this command only available to server operators. But I personally think this is really cool. I can create a mini-me whenever I want to, which is pretty great. So yeah, I was pretty proud of myself for making that, but of course, in my usual style, I had to yet again take it one step further. If I actually go into the config file for this plugin, I created this file myself. You'll notice there's 4 settings. The bottom 2 are pretty self-explanatory. They have to do with the actual minifigures themselves. You set small size to false, then the minifigures will be full size rather than being tiny. And if you set baseplate visible to false, then the little baseplate at the bottom of the tombstone will disappear. But the one I really wanted to focus on here is this one right here. If I set allow offline player figures to true, then I will actually be able to use the /minifig command to create a minifigure for literally any Minecraft player in existence. It uses the same code concept as the player head give command. If you're not familiar with it, then that's totally fine. I'll just go ahead and show you how this works. Let's say, for example, that I wanted to create a minifigure of Notch, the person who created Minecraft. And yeah, that's pretty self-explanatory. That's what he looks like. That's his head. If I take it off, it's Notch's head. So yeah, that was a pretty cool addition, I thought. By the way, the reason I have it default to false in the config file is because it uses an internet connection. It forces the server to connect to the internet in a way that server hosts might not necessarily like. So if you want to use it, the option's always there, you just have to set the config file to true. So you may be thinking that's the end of it, right? Well, you would be mistaken once again. I'm sorry, I totally promised this is the last one. I'm back in the config file, and you may have also noticed that there's a second setting that I didn't mention called Allow Skin Search. I'm just going to go ahead and set this to true and show you how it works. With allow skin search set to true, basically whenever I use the /minifig command, or whenever a player dies, or whenever one of these minifigures gets generated at all, the plugin will actually search the internet for their skin and try to match the leather armor's color to the color of their skin. I'll go ahead and do it again for Notch, and as you can see, the armor has been colored to fit his skin. And I personally would say that's pretty accurate, actually. I mean, he's got the brown shirt, gray pants, and black shoes. I mean, yeah, that's exactly what we see here. If I just type /minifig, it will do it for me, and if I go into F5 mode, you'll see that it basically just copied the black tuxedo on my skin. So I've gone ahead and run the command for a few other people just to demonstrate that, yeah, this actually does work pretty well for just about everybody. By the way, let me know in the comments if you recognize any of these people. They should be at least somewhat internet famous. And yeah, I think that's gonna just about do it for everything that this plugin can do. If for some reason you actually want to use it, I have left a download link to it in the video description, and I may actually update that link as time goes on, if I want to update the plugin for different versions, etc. I don't know if I'm actually going to change it, but if I do, that link should always lead to the latest version. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed that, and thank you for giving me a view. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a comment. I always appreciate being able to talk to you guys. And yeah, I will see you all around in a future video, hopefully with more Spigot stuff, because I'm really getting into it. Anyway, see you all later.